In this video, I'm going to tell you what you need to consider when evaluating whether to hire a Magento freelance developer versus a full-time employee. Pull yourself up a chair and let's talk about it. There are a lot of different ways you can go about hiring a developer, so you need to figure out what works best for you and your workload. It seems obvious, but just make sure you actually know what you want.
Stop thinking about what I want, what he wants, what your parents want. What do you want?
There are a few questions that you need to ask yourself to really define the profile of Magento developer that you should be looking for. The most obvious questions are around time commitments. As in, is this a full-time need or part-time? Is it long-term and ongoing or just a short duration? Will the workload ebb and flow or is it fairly consistent? The last thing you want to do is hire someone and not have anything for them to do after a few weeks, or hire someone with short-term availability and have to find someone else when your needs turn out to be long-term. The answer isn't always obvious. Often, what looks like a short-term need opens up a flood of work when some attention's actually given to it. You also need to account for the level of overhead your business adds to team members. If this person's going to be in meetings half the day, well, that really inflates the time commitment you need from them to get anything actually done on your Magento project. If your needs are part-time, short-term, or will come and go, then you probably want to hire a freelancer in a contract relationship. If you need consistent, full-time, ongoing help, then you'll want to look for someone interested in more of a committed relationship.
I am very afraid of commitment.
Once you've determined your time commitments, then you need to think out what skill sets you actually need. Is this your first and only Magento developer, or are you adding them to an existing team? What skill set is that team lacking? Do you need a front-end developer? Maybe a back-end developer? Do they need experience in some particular technology like Elasticsearch? The wide variety of skill sets needed to manage a Magento project really make it difficult for businesses to find just one person that can properly handle it all. Or, if you can't narrow it down, you can always go unicorn hunting. They exist. I've seen them with my own eyes. Just have your checkbook ready and move a little more budget over from the savings account.
But that's expensive.
In all seriousness, my 20 years in this business has shown me very clearly that if you can't find anyone that meets your job requirements, you're probably looking for more than one person or you have the wrong budget. Now that you hopefully know what you want, let's look at the benefits and detriments of each relationship type. Freelance contractors are less risky because you can bring them in or let them go at any time for any reason, of course depending on your contractual agreement with them. Because they're less risky, a lot of businesses have an easier time getting approval for these hires. This allows you to quickly bounce from one contractor to another if you can't really figure out what skill set you're looking for, or if you aren't great at evaluating them ahead of time. Now, this is not a recipe for success, so I'm not recommending it, but people do it.
Probably not a good idea.
Contractors can also often be cheaper once you consider your total costs like taxes and benefits versus a full-time employee. I want to preface this next section where I talk about the downside of freelance contractors. There are a lot of great contractors out there. I'm not saying they're all bad, but there are some not so great contractors out there as well. I'm going to speak in broad generalities based on what I've seen. Your experiences could be different and none of this applies to everyone. So if you're gonna hate on me, just do it in the comments so it actually helps the video. Might as well go ahead and give it a like while you're at it. Freelance contractors often come with some issues. Now, I can't tell you how many stories I've heard from merchants where the freelancer just disappeared and quit answering emails. Their goal, usually, as a developer, is to stay fully engaged in work. If your work isn't full-time, then they'll often gravitate towards a larger project that requires more of their focus, or pays a slightly higher rate. And that could mean you're constantly starting over with new freelancers and losing the tribal knowledge about your business and how your site is actually built. It being easier for you to scale up and down also makes it a bit easier for them to just move on without notice. Not that the customary 2-week notice on a full-time employee is going to give you a huge runway, but it does give you some time to document a lot of the things you need to pass on to the person replacing them. With contractors, the end of a relationship is often abrupt. Although, to be fair, it's not always the case. So what about full-time hires? It's more of a commitment for you, so it's often more complicated if you need to make a change at the position. Firing someone is never a good time.
I said you're fired. Go on, get out of here.
Internal hires are not insulated from your internal politics. That's both good and bad. They are aware of and understand the internal dynamics of all the aspects of your business and Magento project. That can also be a negative though, because they too can be bogged down by internal politics or end up spending a lot of time in meetings and not actually coding. Once you consider all the costs, this can be an expensive route. Payroll taxes and benefit costs are no joke. It's also more common for businesses to want their full-time hires on site. That can increase your difficulty when finding people depending on your geography. Finding someone that knows Magento and wants to live in Frog Eye, Alabama isn't an easy task. But let me know your thoughts on it in the comments. Is there anything I missed that you think folks should know when trying to determine whether to hire a freelancer or a full-time employee? It's always a pleasure talking to you, but it's time for me to get back to my bourbon. My name is TJ Campbell, and I'm the CEO and founder of Jamerson, where we help businesses like yours take those next steps in their e-commerce journey. If you're ready to improve your business and looking for help, go to jamerson.com/go, and I look forward to speaking with you.